All right, Jesse, let me ask you, when you've made the comment in the last half hour, and I want to get into this a little more, why would you call the president racist? I mean, I think that's a very incendiary charge. You may disagree with the president. I disagree with black liberation theology. I disagree with his political ideology. Race, I can't stand when this word racism is thrown around like that. Why would you make that charge against the president?
Sean, there's no way in heaven or earth that you could sit under a racist preacher like Jeremiah Wright Jr. for 20 years, and you say that he's like an uncle to you. He married you and your wife, baptized your children, and not be a racist. Jeremiah Wright Jr. is about racism. And for Obama to sit with this guy for 20 years or so, he will have to agree with it. So that's my first proof.
I disagree with black liberation theology. I disagree, and I've gone over it in great detail. The social and political ramifications of it, it's rooted in Marxism, socialism, redistribution. Very well, when it talks about the black family, the black community, et cetera, I don't like the fact that it's separate, but I wouldn't call it racist. And, for all his denial of his knowledge of the incendiary side of Jeremiah Wright, I can't hold him responsible for the actions of his pastor in that sense.
Exactly. No, but you can hold. He's an adult. He's a quote unquote intelligent man. I wouldn't. I at one point when I had that type of anger toward white Americans, I would sit under those black preachers who spoke racism from the pulpit because I was angry and agreed with them. But once I overcame that anger and I realized what they were teaching was wrong, I left those churches. You can't sit with those type of people unless you believe in what they say. And I have not heard Barack Obama voluntarily repudiate Jeremiah Wright.
No, he did. Remember he said I could no longer disown him than I can the black community, and then he threw right under the bus when it became politically expedient. So,
well, that was by force and not by choice. He didn't come out and say, you know what, I've sat under this guy for 20-some years. I apologize. I realize that he is a racist. I was wrong for doing that. Obama wanted to win.
He didn't say that, but he did
Those are two different points. Again, the question here is whether or not President Obama has those beliefs about white people, or even shares Jeremiah Wright's worldview. You can't base that on the fact that he knows people who are. I know plenty of people who are racist. I work with some of them. That doesn't mean that I'm a racist.
Right, but you don't sit on a racist preacher like that. And if I may, Sean, I want to go back to one quick. If I may, I want to go back to one quick thing that Eric Holder said.
All right, let's go back one at a time. First, let Mark respond, then we'll go back to you.
Okay.
We can jump to Eric Holder because I just had a chance to read the full quote. What Eric Holder said is that to compare what happened in Philadelphia to the type of discrimination at voting booths that happened in the 1960s would do a disservice to the people who died for us and who died for my people. That's what he said. He was saying what happened to those white people in Philadelphia is nothing compared to what happened in the 1960s. And he's absolutely right. I mean, you can't honestly compare the two things. Now, I think it's wrong what happened to the people there, but I don't think it's comparable to the 1960s, number one. And number two, what you all reported was completely out of context. And what Jesse Lee Peterson just said was that Eric Holder said that he wasn't going to prosecute the Black Panthers because of what they did for his people. And that's just an outright
Well, he hasn't done it in 2 years, but Jesse, respond.
You know,
Jesse, go ahead.
Hold on a minute. Eric Holder is not going to prosecute the new Black Panther Party. He made that very clear last year. He wasn't going to deal with it. He threw the case out. And he did it, Sean, because they were black. Eric Holder even said a while back that America is a cowardly country and that white folks are too cowardly to discuss race. And when he was asked that question during that hearing, the question was about. Hold on, Lamont. Hold on. The question wasn't about.
Hey, Mark, hang on. Let Mark, let him finish, and then you go. Come on.
Okay. The question. Hold on, Lamont. You're trying to shout me down. Hold on. The question wasn't about the 60s and what happened in the 60s. The question was about what are you going to do about the new Black Panther Party intimidation at the poll? And Eric Holder brought up the 60s because he was trying to get away from answering that question. And that's what that was all about. It was a cover-up. The question is, what are you going to do about prosecuting black folks when they commit crime, and that's what Eric Holder went into this lawsuit and said that he could not do this to his people, referring to black people. No white attorney general will be able to get away with that.
All right, Mark, go ahead.
Now let me respond to the two things, because both of what you said is completely untrue. First of all, Eric Holder didn't say that white people are cowards when talking about race. He said, and I quote, "We are a nation of cowards." He didn't say white people. He said we. He included himself, black people, and the we. So you're misrepresenting to say he was talking about white people. He said all of us, Jesse, not black people.
But it's not true that America is powerless when it's happening.
All right, let me move on, because we're obviously not going to get along about Eric Holder. So let me move the debate forward here. Let me go to Louis Farrakhan and some comment. You guys, we got to go one at a time here. We can't hear either one of you. Louis Farrakhan said the following this month about Muammar Gaddafi, calling him my brother and my friend.
I don't know what's going on in Libya. I haven't been there in a while. But Muammar Gaddafi has always been my friend.
He's always been my friend. And talking about Muammar Gaddafi, remember he and Jeremiah Wright visited him in Libya back in 1984. And then the anti-Semitism begins to sneak out. Here's more Farrakhan.
The Zionists say we got a chance. Gaddafi's weak now. Now, President Obama, if you allow the Zionists to push you to mount a military offensive against Gaddafi, and you go in and kill him and kill his sons, as you did with Saddam Hussein and his sons, I'm warning you. This is a Libyan problem. Let the Libyans solve their problem among themselves. Zionists dominate the government of the United States of America and her banking system. Some of you think that I'm just somebody that's got something in for the Jewish people. You're stupid.
Dr. Hill?
Well,
Let me see how you explain this
I'm
one.
not sure where you want me to begin, but number one, I think Minister Farrakhan's wrong about this point. I
Is
think
that anti-Semitic?
Which part?
Well, when he said Zionists dominate the government of the United States and her banking system?
I think anyone who makes that kind of a claim is making an anti-Semitic remark. Yes, I do.
So you think Farrakhan's anti-Semitic?
I'm saying that remark was anti-Semitic.
Well, I mean, wait a minute, but he's got a history of anti-Semitism. You know, Judaism is a gutter religion and all these other things he said.
I think that anytime you make those comments, they're anti-Semitic. Do I want to characterize Mr. Farrakhan as an anti-Semite? I have to look at the evidence, you know. But if you're asking me,
I just gave you the evidence. Anybody that says the Jews dominate the banking system and control the government of the United States, you don't think that's classic anti-Semitism?
Sure. Yeah, Sean, I said yes. We began.
All right, so Farrakhan's an anti-Semite. Say it.
You can say that. What I'm saying is I need to see the evidence.
I just gave you the evidence.
You also gave me a quote from Eric Holder that was wrong. Jesse Lee Peterson gave me a quote from Eric Holder.
I just played you. All right, so Judaism is a gutter religion. That's a classic Farrakhan. That doesn't sound anti-Semitic?
And I've always said that was anti-Semitic. I mean, it seems as if you come in with the expectation of me defending him, and now that I'm not, you don't know where to go.
No, I'm not. I'm asking you if Farrakhan, if you think he's racist and anti-Semitic.
I'd rather be talking about Gaddafi.
I'd rather you be answering my question, but because it's a simple question, we can move on.
If the question is, you said, was it an anti-Semitic remark? I said yes. I don't understand where else you want me to go with.
Well, then don't tell me that it's taken out of context if you think it's anti-Semitic. It's a simple question.
I didn't say it was taken out of context. I said I don't know the context of the other remarks because I didn't hear them. I only know what you just played for me.
Okay.
What I'm saying is I'd like to do my research and find out for myself. And as far as Gaddafi goes, I think that Minister Farrakhan over the years has very consistently defended Gaddafi and other leaders who I have not considered to be democratic elected leaders and people who I don't think he should defend. However, I would say that the Bush administration and the Clinton administration and the Obama administration also has defended leaders like Mubarak who I also don't think need to be defended. So I think there's a whole history.
Do you think Farrakhan is a bad guy in terms of his views being racial? You know, his magazine once printed, God teaches me that the white man is the skunk of the planet Earth.
Well, first of all, that wasn't his magazine, nor was it his paper. But
yeah, it actually was.
No, it actually wasn't. That actually comes from a lesson from 1932, which was before he actually even took over the leadership of the nation.
So you don't think you don't think Farrakhan has a history of racism and anti-Semitism?
I think that Farrakhan has a history of saying things that I regularly.
Why are you so reluctant to condemn somebody who's obviously anti-Semitic and racist? I don't get that.
I'm not reluctant to condemn anything, Sean. But if someone were to take some of your comments out, they could call you a racist.
Yeah, like what comment is that?
And I would hold on, let me finish the point. You'll hear. What I would say is we need to listen to the person and look at the totality of their work, and not simply.
All right, so look at the totality of Farrakhan's work. Is it counterproductive to race relations and relations with Israel?
That's a good question. I think over the years, that's actually a good question, Sean. Thank you. I think that over the years, his comments have been counterproductive to building relationships with Israel. I do think, however, that his comments have been productive in many ways in terms of organizing black people. If you look at the Million Man March, for example, that's been great for galvanizing black people around this issue of responsibility that you're always talking about. So I think that Farrakhan is a complicated figure. I think he's done some things positive. I think he's done.
All right, let's go to Jesse and get him in the debate. Jesse?
Yeah, please.
First of all, Farrakhan is not a hard person to understand. He is anti-Semitic. He does hate white Americans or hate white folks. After he made that comment this week, we sent out a notice. We contacted the FBI asking them to put Louis Farrakhan on the domestic enemies list and that they should keep an eye on this guy, because Louis Farrakhan has a lot of angry black people who follow him, and they would do whatever he asks. He's a good friend to Gaddafi. Gaddafi has given him a lot of money, and I remember back in the 80s when Louis Farrakhan would come to Los Angeles, I would listen to him, and I believe what he said when he said the Jews were blood-sucking Jews, and white Americans were, white blue-eyed devils, and that they were keeping black Americans down.
Well, wasn't that Malcolm X who said blue-eyed devils?
Yeah, and I also remember him, as Lamont just said, on one hand, he would tell black people, you should get married, you should raise your children, but on the other hand, he said that it's difficult or you can't do it because the old blood-sucking Jew did it, or the blue-eyed devil is holding you back. So he pretends as though he's trying to unite the people, when in reality he's drawing them into his camp by encouraging them to hate others so that he can control them. This guy has members of his church that are felons who have committed major crimes, and they're very angry. We need to keep an eye on them. There's no proof, Lamont, that the Republican Party is a racist party. It's just not true at all.
All right, let me give you another example of Farrakhan. Here's Farrakhan talking about Jews in New York City.
Jerusalem was the capital city of the Jews, and New York City is the capital city of Jews in America.
And we got another one talking about burning America. Here's Farrakhan.
When John baptized Jesus, he said, I baptize you with water, but there's one coming after me that will baptize you with fire. Why fire? Because nothing remains in its present form when fire touches it. America must be burned.
Still want to defend this guy, Mark?
Okay, two things. One, I wasn't defending. I don't think I've said anything in defense of him yet, but I was there for that speech where he said, let it be burned. And again, there is a context for that. And I think if you heard the context, you would agree, Sean. What he was saying here is that it was a conversation about black responsibility. And he was saying, instead of keep coming here, because he was at the Tavis Smiley event, Tavis Smiley kept saying, America owes us, America owes us, America owes us. We need to get things that America owes us. And he was saying, stop trying to get things from America and get your own stuff.
Let me give you another example. When let me give you another example. When Khalid Muhammad, who I debated once, said, kill everything white that ain't right, kill the women, kill the children, kill the old people, kill gays and lesbians, et cetera, kill them all. Right after that, what did Farrakhan say? That Muhammad was a beautiful black stallion and only God could ride that gifted horse. That's how he defended him. I mean, that's why...
Sean, Lamar is not going to admit the truth about Louis Farrakhan because he would have to recognize that he is wrong. And these type of liberals, they will not tell the truth about each other, and they're quick to make up lies about, the Tea Party movement, about Republicans, but they won't tell the truth about themselves.